and thanks for joining me. Today we're going to be looking at the Trail Runner again. In particular, we're going to be looking at this front bumper. This is a really good looking bumper on here. I like how once you cut the stinger off, it fits nice and flush with the body. But the downside is it is plastic, and where it's three-piece, it flexes like crazy. So I like to have a nice metal bumper. The problem is finding one that has this shape and this size to it. So while looking around on one of the local boards, I noticed that a guy had put a bumper on his TRX4. He'd got the bumper from RC World. So I decided to look it up and see what the width was and if it'd work for this body. It looked like it would, so I picked it up. So let's take a look at the bumper that I picked up. This is the bumper I went with. It's a pretty good looking bumper. It's about 8 inches wide from tip to tip. The only thing I don't like is this, oh my god, huge, massive stinger on it. It's made out of some very thick aluminum, and it's just huge. I'll show you how huge here in a minute. I'll hold it up next to the truck. But the overall shape looks like it's going to work. I don't care for the gunmetal collar, so I may end up painting it black just so it matches the rest of the accessories on the truck. As well, the bumper came with brackets to mount it the traditional style to the sides of the frame rail, as well as doing the post style. It came with hardware for the various mounts, as well as for mounting the set of LEDs that it came with. Okay, now let me hold it up there and show you how it compares to the regular bumper that's on the truck. Now then, as you can see, the width is pretty much perfect. But the problem is, when we put it down here, I mean, just look how huge that stinger is. That's a no-no. It's almost up to the top of the roof, for crying out loud. But the good news is the stinger is removable. It has 2 bolts. So we're going to remove this stinger, and then we're going to see how it will fit then on the truck. So let's go ahead and remove that stinger, and then we'll come back and talk about mounting this to the Trail Runner. Okay, so first thing first, we're going to remove this stinger, like I said. Just 2 bolts. There we go, now it's removed. That looks so much better already. I mean, it does leave us a couple holes up here in the top, but that really probably won't be a problem because I'm going to tuck this bumper back like the one that's on it right now already is. Now the thing about this bumper is, it came with these brackets here to mount it to the chassis, kind of like the traditional style that a lot of them mount that don't use the posts. But whenever I flip it over, there's no mounting holes for this. I mean, so I'm not sure how you mount these, to be honest about it. So we're going to have to use the post method. And on my truck, that will require some modifications. Let me go ahead and show you what I mean. The thing is I have a Trail Runner, and it uses round posts. I'm not sure if these square posts will even fit through this mount or not. So if it does, then comes another problem. The RC World bumper uses these kind of mounts for the bumper. That doesn't work for me. The reason why it doesn't work for me is I'm using one of the bolts here to hold on my guide for my winch. If you watch my winch servo install, you'd saw me install that. Another is I'm running a Trail Runner, which uses a skid plate for the independent front suspension, and it mounts right here up through the bumper bracket. I don't think that'll be that big of a deal though, because if this will fit in the bumper bracket on the truck, we can drill these holes out, or maybe thread one through it as it is right now. It'll be tight, but we might be able to do that. Well, I got the bumper off the Trail Runner, and I cannot use these mounts. For TRX4, which this bumper is made for, it's probably fine, but on this one, square peg, round hole. So that will not work. But I figured out how to mount those. I had to get some longer screws out of my parts box. These are 3 by 22. No, sorry, I take it back. They're 3 by 20. They will fit all the way through. They're loosely mounted right now, but once I tighten them down and then tighten this down to the chassis, it should hold fine. That's got them loosely mounted because I'll have to set the width of the chassis here. But that should let me mount this bumper up the way I need to. Now, there may need to be a little bit of cutting. I don't know yet. But if you can see right here, let me get this focused in. Zoom in here. It looks like it may end up hitting the shock tower. I could loosen up the shock tower and mount it underneath, but I think instead I'll probably end up trimming the bumper right there, if I need to go in that far. So, first things first, I'm going to go ahead and take the screws out of the side here and see about mounting this bumper up and see what kind of adjustments I need to make it fit correctly. Now that I got those screws out, so I'll have to narrow this up so it's out here fit better. But yeah, those mounts are going to be way too long. So I will probably have to trim those up. So let's first thing first, let's go ahead and get this narrowed up. To do that, all I have to do is loosen up these screws right here and move these mounts in and center the bumper up on the truck. Okay, now let's see about where I need the width on this. About so, but I notice the bumper's sitting this way a little bit, so I have to jiggle it that way just so I can get it centered up. It may help if you measure and get a center line on this piece and draw a line with a Sharpie and then draw one on here. At least with a Sharpie, a little bit of alcohol, you can take it right off. But I think right about there is where I wanted at. So I'm going to loosely tighten down these two pieces right here again, just so they're snug but not super tight. So now I think I got it where I want it to be. I'm going to go ahead and put screws, at least one on each side, back through the frame and into the bumper mount. After tightening up the mounts there just a little bit, I see there's going to be a problem. This hangs down here. I thought it'd probably end up hitting the shock tower. I guess if I flipped it over the other way, it would. Problem is, it looks like it's going to hit the suspension arm during compression. So, I mean, it's right there at the very end of the compression stroke. So what I'll do just to keep strength is I'll probably notch this. Actually, I may just cut it right off. So it's even with the chassis, it'll just look better. So yeah, that's probably what I'll do. Let's put the body on and see how that mounts. This bumper still isn't tight, by the way, as you can tell. Let's get the body mounted up here. Wow, just wow, that's not going to work. That is definitely not going to work. Look at the gap. Yeah, that's not going to work. See if I can get it focused in here a little bit better for you. I mean, I can get a whole finger in there. So that is definitely not going to work. I'm going to have to figure out a way around that. Let me back up here just a little bit. Now this way you can see just how bad it is. Wow, there's not enough wiggle room to bring that up. I guess once again on a TRX4 that wouldn't be a problem. How to fix that? I'm going to have to make some kind of adapter plate to raise this up. I mean, overall I'm happy with how far it sticks out. I mean, sticks out just a little bit farther than the stock one, but not bad. Still could probably stand to be brought back in just a little bit. Okay, now to figure out how to move that up. Hey, wait a minute, I got an idea. I'll be right back. If you remember, a while back, I put a set of Gen 8 axles underneath a Landshark chassis, and this came in the kit with the Gen 8 axles. It's so you can convert a Gen 7 to Gen 8. I think I can use a pair of these to move this bumper up where it belongs. Let's go ahead and get this body off and see if it's possible to use one of these or not. I'll have to go through my hardware, I'm sure, and find some of that to help make this possible. Well then, that is looking better. That's not looking great, but it is looking better. As you can tell, the bumper is brought up a lot now. The downside is it might be up a little too high here. The body posts don't come all the way through because it's hanging up here on the front of the body, but that's fine because I'll just trim the body as need be. And if you notice here, this little dip down lines up the grill. So that's actually a pleasant surprise. Let me show you here what we got done. I have those Red Cat mounts right here mounted to the bumper bracket and then mounted to the bumper, and that raised it up nicely. Get a little bit closer here so you can see it maybe a little bit better. Let's see if I can get this to focus on it. There we go. Now you can see kind of how it raised it up there. And the bottom of the bumper is still pretty well even with the chassis, so that'll work out nicely. Now I do want to bring this bumper in more, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this, I'm going to tighten up all the bolts to this bumper so it's nice and snug because it sits right to left where I want it at to the mounts. And then I'm going to go and take these bolts out of the mounts, and this hole right here I'm going to elongate it a little bit because I want to pull this bumper in farther. So I'm going to take my Dremel and make this slot in this bumper mount a little bit longer, a little bit more towards the front. I want to bring it in about another 2 to 3 millimeters, maybe even just a little bit more. And then I will cut off the excess here, and I'm also going to, if you see right here my bracket sticks up above the bumper, I'm going to trim those off flat as well. And there it is, the bumper is now ready to be painted. You can see how much I cut away the mounts there, and the mounts here. Cut about that much off of them. This way they won't interfere with the front suspension, and should still hold up nicely. So now I'm just going to take this apart, I'm going to paint it. Next time you see it, it'll be mounted on the truck. Okay, I know I said I was going to paint it before I showed it again, but I got it all mounted up and just had to show how well it fits. Looks really, really good on there. Had to trim the body just a little bit here to let it set up high, but overall, looking pretty good. Now I will take it off and paint it. Well, the bumper is now fully painted and installed back on the Element. As you can see here, there's the mount. I did use a pair of these washers here to help spread the load out. Which mounts up nice and solid. And I did reuse the lights I had already on this truck. This bumper came with lights, but these were already wired and ran, so I went ahead and went with those. Now let's show you what it looks like on the truck. And here's the Trail Runner with the body installed and the bumper on and painted. As you can tell, it fits this body very well. Looks even better now than it did before in gray. I did trim the body here to fit nicely around the bumper. From the front here, it looks very good. I just really am impressed with how well this fits. It took a lot of work to get it here, but in the end, it just looks so much better on this truck and will provide a lot better protection being metal, and don't have to worry about getting up against rock and it flexing back on the truck. I like the way that it actually fits the grill here with this little kick down. Actually kind of looks like it was made for it, even though it was made for the TRX4, but fits almost perfectly, lines up with that, and allows a good opening here for my winch cable to come through. I kept the fair lead the same color and as well as the D-rings. Look at here from the side, I mean just every angle, it fits very well and looks very good on the truck. I am very happy with this addition. But what do I think of this bumper overall? Well, this bumper for TRX4 is perfect, I'm sure. So it would bolt right on, you'd be good to go. To put up this Trail Runner, it takes a little bit of work, but the end result is worth it. So if you're looking for a bumper that's a little bit different than everybody else is running for your Trail Runner, give this one from RC World a look. I think you'll be happy with it. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you like the way the bumper looks here on the Trail Runner. I also hope you will subscribe. That helps us out a lot. And also like this video. Also down below you'll find links to Facebook and Instagram. We post a lot of stuff there that never makes it into videos. And I think you'd enjoy that too. So until next time, happy RCing.